If you want to get faster at editing photos in Adobe Lightroom, I think the biggest tip that I could give you is to learn your keyboard shortcuts. Now, a lot of people take this for granted, but when I'm editing large galleries from weddings or events, keyboard shortcuts help me so much and make me not have to reach for my mouse and drag it around the screen. I can just press some buttons and get things done. Now, the weird thing is that keyboard shortcuts aren't customizable. They're exactly the same for everyone else within Adobe Lightroom, which is a bit of a negative because we can't change it to our own preferences, but it's a great thing because I can teach you exactly what they are because they're going to be the same for everyone. So what I did is I went ahead and put together a cheat sheet of my 60 favorite Lightroom shortcuts. If you want to get access to that, there'll be a link in the description of this video. You can jump in there and download that one straight away. Otherwise, I'm going to jump into some of my favorites in this video and run you through how I use them to edit my photos. Alrighty, so here I am in the library tab of Lightroom Classic. Works the same in Lightroom Cloud version as well. In the library tab here, if you want to open a new catalog, you want to jump straight in, press Control-O. It'll open a catalog for you, and you can go to where your catalogs are and find the one that you want. Otherwise, if you're importing off a drive, an SD card, press Control-Shift-I, then it'll bring up the import dialog. Now, if you plug in a drive, it'll bring that up anyway, but if you want to get to it pretty quick, that's how you do it. As I'm scrolling around here on the library tab, I can press E to go into loop view or G to go back to the grid, and I can just swipe around here. Now, if I go into E again, if I want to choose images, for example, if I want to select ones that I'm going to be choosing to be editing. Let's go to here, for example. If I'm going to be choosing images, I can give them different star ratings based on the images that I'm selecting. So if I want star ratings 1 through 5, just press number 1 through 5, and it will bring up the star ratings for you. The same thing with the color labels as well. You can press 6 through 9. Will bring up the different color labels. If you are someone that likes to do your culling within Lightroom, I always suggest importing first and then go through the cull. Now we can use X to reject things, P to pick them, or U to remove our selection. So we've got all those options and that'll come up down the bottom. Now, when you're going through, it can be tedious to press a star rating and then move on to the next one with the arrow keys. So if you press caps lock or hold down the shift key, and then press the star rating, it'll auto advance. Same with the color ratings as well, and same if you pick or reject an image, it'll auto advance for you. So now you've got all of those things and it's auto advancing, so you're moving on to the next images as you go. You don't need to press the arrow keys. As you'll see up the top left, I've got a bit of information about the image. You want to get rid of that, press the I, and it'll flick through the information. It's got the dimensions, how it was taken, all of that type of stuff up in the top left. If we go back to the grid view and you want that more information on the grid view, you can press J and it's going to cycle through the different grid views that you've got here. We've got just plain, then a bit more information on that one with the dimensions of the image, whether they've been picked or not, or just back to plain with the numbers of them in the catalog. If you want to get rid of the side panels, just press Tab and it'll give you way more space. Get rid of those. If you press Shift Tab, it'll open it up even larger. You get rid of the top tabs as well. So that'll quite easy. So just tab side panels, Shift Tab opens it right up. So you've got a lot of space now. And it's the same in the loop view as well. You can press those to get rid of it. Press Tab to remove the sides and the top. If you want to get rid of the toolbar down the bottom, just press T. That'll take away the toolbar down the bottom. And then we're pretty much ready to move into actually editing this photo. When you are, just press D on your keyboard and you go into the Develop tab. Now that we're in the Develop tab, there's so many different things we can do. If you press the comma or the full stop buttons, you'll flick between all of the different basic sliders on the right-hand side. So you'll see there that it's highlighting. So now it's whites, blacks, texture. That's by pressing full stop to go down and press the comma to come back up. And then you'll see on the screen there it says change it with the plus minus key. So if you want to change any of them, so if I want to increase the exposure on this, I just press the plus button and auto change it there. And then I'm changing, go down if I want to bring up the shadows, drop the highlights there. I can do this all without even touching the mouse. The next thing I could do is press R to bring up the crop tool. So that will bring that up there. And I can come in and crop and change it just easily like that. And then if I want to change the orientation of the crop, I can press X and then I'll change it from portrait to landscape. O will change the overlay of the crop. So you can change the different overlays that you want on the crop. I like to keep it on the rule of thirds, but if you like other crop overlays, you can. If you're on a particular crop overlay, like the perfect spiral, you press Shift O and it'll change the orientation of that overlay. So that's handy if you want to use the perfect spiral. And then if you're really not happy with what you've done, you can press Control Alt R, that'll reset the crop for you and you can just go back to square one. And press R again to close the crop tool. The next thing that I love using keyboard shortcuts for are selective adjustments. So you can press M on your keyboard and that will bring up a linear gradient that you can just drag in. So that'll open up the linear gradient tool. You can then come in and drag that as well. If you press Shift M, that'll bring up a radial gradient. So we can come in to a bit of a radial gradient there and then change our settings pretty easily. That'll bring those up. And if you press K, that'll bring up the brush tool. You can scroll on your wheel on your mouse to increase the size, or press the open and close square brackets. That'll increase the size as well if you want to use the brush to brush in a bit of stuff. And now if you are brushing in any of these masks and you want to see the overlay, press O and that'll bring up the red overlay to show you where the mask is. And then if you press Shift O, you can change the color of that overlay as well to what you would like it: black, white, green, or red, depending on what the background is. If you've got a red background, it's very hard to see the red overlay, so you might want to change it to green. Another easy keyboard shortcut is pressing Q to open the spot remove tool. So we can do that. I can then press spacebar to zoom in and say I want to remove that section there. That'll bring it up, close it down, and we're back out. So spacebar to zoom in and Q to open the spot remove tool. If you then want to go straight to generative remove, you can press Alt-Shift-G. That'll bring up the generative remove tool, so you don't have to select it up here on the right-hand side. And if you want to do an object remove, you can go in Alt-Shift-O. That'll bring up object remove and it'll detect objects for you. Another one of my favorite shortcuts is converting images to black and white. You can do that by just pressing V on your keyboard. That'll convert it to grayscale and come back to normal if you press it again. Now, when I'm editing images, I don't love to just convert them to black and white. I like to give the color version and the black and white version. So to do that, what I do is create a virtual copy. So if you can press Control'', you'll create a virtual copy of that image. So you're just creating a second copy inside of Lightroom. You're not duplicating it on your hard drive. And then on that one, I press V to create black and white, and then I can edit that one as a black and white. I've still only got one file on my hard drive, but I've created a virtual copy in Lightroom that I can edit in a different way. Now, let's say, for example, your images are rotated the wrong way. This is a really good one for changing that when your camera gets it wrong sometimes. Just press Control square bracket in either direction. So open square bracket will rotate left, close square bracket will rotate right. Now, obviously this looks weird because they're not meant to be, but it's a good way to rotate images without having to go in, because there's no real actual button to do it. You've got to right click in order to do that one. So it's easy. If you are starting to get to the end of an edit and you want to see how your progress is tracking, you can always bring up the before and after using the backslash. So there's the before and there's the after using the backslash. If you want a side-by-side view, you can press Y and you can get that side-by-side view and see what it looked like before. If you really want to see it in more detail and you find everything else on the side distracting, you can press L to get lights out mode, and then L again and bring it up completely on black, and then turn that off again. If you want to go into full screen, you can press F. That'll bring up the full screen version of it, just to give you a nice high-res version of it to be able to see what you're looking at. And then if you're really happy with the way this photo is looking and you want to copy the settings to another one, just press Control-C. It'll bring up the copy dialog, and then you can flick to a different image, and Control-V will paste them. All of the standard keyboard shortcuts apply as well. So Control-Z to undo the paste, Control-Y to redo. All of those things are very handy when you're editing. Then if you get to the end and you're ready to export, you can press Control-Shift-E, and that'll bring up the export dialog for you. As I said, there are so many keyboard shortcuts, and as you learn them and get familiar with them, you'll just notice yourself doing them out of habit rather than getting the mouse and dragging to where you need to click. You'll just be making edits with your keyboard. If you want to get that full list of over 60 keyboard shortcuts that I've put together, that downloadable PDF will be linked in the description of this video, and you can go and pick that up, download it, go and have it as a reference while you're editing next time and see how that speed improves as you start to pick up on all those shortcuts. Anyway, guys, I hope this video was really helpful for you, and I will see you again in the next one.